What does it mean? That means whatever you are doing, you don't do it for yourself, but you do it for the divine. In the beginning, it's very difficult to do that, but what you can do is to remember and offer. Then slowly it becomes for the divine and not for you. Okay. All our actions are ego based. We do everything for ourselves, and that is very valid and perfectly justified when you are living a normal life. But when you are wanting to go to a higher level of consciousness by yoga, then you can't do it for yourself. You have to discourage the ego. So therefore you do it for the divine. But doing directly for the divine, not possible. Very difficult. So the next level, you remember the divine and offer it at least in your mind. Okay, that is the self-surrender. It works. So I'm reading each sentence. Okay, the aim set before our yoga. Note because each yoga has got a different method and a different aim. Okay, so with this aim set before our yoga, he is talking only of the integral yoga. He is not talking the others. The others can do something else. Okay. Before our yoga is nothing less than to hasten this supreme object of our existence here. Again, note the word here, very important. In the physical world, the other yogas are not interested in the physical world. They are interested only in the heavens above, the levels of consciousness which are above. They want to go there with their soul and they don't care for the body-mind life. Okay, so its process, our yoga's process, its process leaves behind the ordinary tardy method of slow and confused growth through the evolution of nature. Nature is also having an evolution, but it's a very slow process. So you want to hasten it individually, you want to hasten it. You remember the words he has used? Nature's evolution is slow and tardy, whereas yoga is revolutionary yoga, revolutionary evolution. The evolution is revolutionary. Instead, nature is doing physically, you have to do it psychologically. You have to go into yourself and concentrate. So, for the natural evolution, okay, okay, he's also using two words: ordinary tardy method. Why tardy? Because when you are going from one place to another place, suppose you are crossing a forest, okay, you don't know which way you have to go, so you go one way and then after going 100 meters you realize, oh, this is the wrong path, this is not our path, there's a lot of obstruction there, so you come back. So that's why it is tardy, it is slow and experimental. You go here and discover it is, you go there and you discover that it is not like that. So that is tardy. That's what nature is doing. In fact, nature is creating so many species which she rejects afterwards. She says that it's not enough. Okay, so it's tardy. Tardy means very slow. Then confused also. It can also get confused. Okay. You explore every possibility and then you sort of stray into bylanes. That's why you don't stick to the highway. That's why it is also confused growth through the evolution of nature. But this is in nature. Nature is in no hurry at all. It wants to explore everything. So now he is continuing for the natural evolution. Natural evolution, you have to understand evolution of nature. Okay. Don't take the word natural in the other sense. Of nature. And nature is what? The whole universe. Okay, the universe and also the three planes. That is all nature. Physical world, vital world, and mental world. That is nature. Okay. In fact, you can equate nature and prakriti. Students often uses in English the word nature, but that is prakriti. Okay, prakriti is the energy part, the mechanical energy part. So, for the natural evolution is at its best, an uncertain growth under cover. What is covered? The consciousness is covered. Partly by the pressure of the environment. The environment does not allow quick progress, okay, because it's very dense and dark. Partly by a groping education, and an ill-lighted purposeful effort. Your effort may be purposeful, but you don't know which way to go. Ill-lighted. Okay? You have to struggle. You are in ignorance, therefore you have to struggle. It doesn't matter, because if you make a mistake, you realize that that's not the path. So every mistake you make should not be taken as something negative. It is something positive. It is helping you to identify the right path. That's what you have to understand. Okay? We should have immense patience, as much as like the nature also has immense patience. We also should have patience, but we are in a hurry. Purposeful effort. And only impartially eliminate and half automatic use of opportunities with many blunders and lapses and relapses. In fact, this blunders and lapses and relapses, you can even think of the evolution of so many civilizations. And then what happens? It goes to a high pitch and then it gets destroyed. Look at all the civilizations that happened, the Egyptian civilization, the Sumerian civilization. You go to such a high pitch and then down it falls, okay? It's a lapse and relapse. A great portion of it is made up of apparent accidents and circumstances and vicissitudes. All these things which happen, which you think are accidents, okay? The whole Atlantis disappeared under the sea. Even in our country, Dwarka, the city of Krishna, Sri Krishna, it went under the sea. So it seems to be an accident. Actually, it's not an accident at all. Nothing is an accident according to Swayambhu. It follows all laws. There are very clear laws which you don't see. But if you had the capacity to see, you would understand that there is no accident. Everything is intended. Okay? Every negative thing that seems to happen is only a process on the upward path. This you have to understand. Okay? When you fail somewhere, you have learned something. You have to avoid that. That's why every failure is the stepping stone to success. You have to see it in that way. So you can see how Sremdo's way of looking at things is so positive. There is never any failure. There is never any accident. There is never any negative event. Everything helps to go slowly. We are in our impatience, we want to go fast. But that is not justified. That is not justified. We have to learn to go fast without impatience. That's what. In fact, he says in one place, he says, our effort must be such that the intention must be, I will gain success today itself. That should be the intensity of the effort. But there should be no impatience in it and no nervous instability. It should be calm, quiet and purposeful. And you must say to yourself, even if it takes 100 years for me to get the result, I will do it. That sort of determination has to be there. Seems contradictory, no? But that's exactly what we have. Because intensity with calmness. All our intensity, very often we have intensity, but it's not calm. It is very disturbed. We want quick results. But that's what you have to do. So everything Sremdo is saying, apparent accidents and circumstances and vicissitudes. The ups and downs of life. These ups and downs you can see even in evolution. As I said, civilizations appear and disappear, okay? Also think of that destruction of Pompeii, okay? The whole city got burnt by the volcano. So these things are not, they are intended. Why they are intended is another question. We need not discuss that. It's nature is finding her way, okay? Exploring every lane and by-lane. Okay. So, though veiling a secret divine intervention and guidance. In other words, even in every accident, there is a secret divine intervention and guidance. In yoga, that means the concentrated evolution. He has spoken about the natural evolution in nature. It's slow and steady and it gets results in a very slow manner. But in yoga, it is the opposite. It's fast. Evolution is fast. One individual can make that possible, but not in the collectivity. It becomes very slow. In yoga, we replace this confused, crooked crab motion by a rapid, conscious and self-directed evolution, which is planned to carry us as far as can be in a straight line towards the goal set before us. Okay, he is using a very interesting, I don't know if you have noticed, but crabs can't move forward. Crabs have to go only sideways. So if they want to go forward, they have to turn 90 degrees and then go sideways. They can't go forward. So this is nature's image. He is using a very interesting image of crab motion. By a rapid, conscious and self-directed evolution, which is planned to carry us as far as can be. Okay, it's not always possible, but as far as possible, in a straight line towards the goal set before us. In a certain sense, it may be an error to speak of a goal anywhere in a progression which may well be infinite. Evolution need not stop anywhere, because if you stop, then you think that the last is reached, and that is a limit. So then you are actually limiting God. So that's not possible. He is infinite. Therefore, there is no end to the progression. Still, we can conceive of an immediate goal, an ulterior objective beyond our present achievement, towards which the soul in man can aspire. In other words, we can certainly have temporary aims. We can certainly have a temporary goal. But the goal itself can go on, as they say nowadays is very, very common, shift the goalpost. Okay, when you are having discussions, okay, and arguments, sometimes you want something, and when that is given, you shift the goalpost and say you want more. That's what happened with the farmers' agitation in India. No? They wanted the laws repealed, and when the laws were repealed, they should have been satisfied. But instead of being satisfied, they said, no, we want now, we will continue our protest. So they want something more. So that is the shifting of the goalpost. In yoga also, you have a temporary goal, and then when you reach it, you make another goal for yourself. It's unending. Okay. Still, we can conceive of an immediate goal, an ulterior objective beyond our present achievement, towards which the soul of man can aspire. There lies before him the possibility of a new birth. Your whole nature can absolutely take a new birth. That's why they say in Sanskrit we have the word dvija. Dvija, twice born. Once you are born physically, and the second you are born spiritually. Your nature changes also. Dvija. The Brahmin is supposed to be a dvija. Okay. The word dvija is interesting. In English also you have twice born. Okay. There was Jimmy Carter was a president in America, and he had an experience. He was a Christian, and he used to call himself twice born because he had some experience. Okay, so dvija, born twice. Okay, the word also means, I'm straying a little, but it's interesting. Dvija is a bird. The bird is also born twice. First it is born as an egg, and then it is born as a bird. So dvija. Okay, so there lies before him the possibility of a new birth. There can be an ascent into a higher and wider plane of being, and its descent to transform his members. Note, interestingly, the sentence is very clear. You can ascend into the higher level of consciousness. Your consciousness can go out of your body-mind life and go to a next level where you are now participating in that higher consciousness. But the body-mind life is below. It's like you shifting from one house, an old house, to a new house. You have built a new house and you're moving there. The old house remains imperfect. Now you are concentrating on the new house. That's the normal yoga. But in Sri Aurobido's case, no. He wants you to rise to that level of consciousness, but descend also. Come down with all that you have gained in the higher and change the lower. Okay. Renovate the house. Don't go to a new house. Get the elements of the new house, new construction. Come down and renovate your house with the new values. That's what Sri Aurobido wants. Ascent and descent. The other yogas don't care for descent. They want only an ascent. They go up and they are satisfied. They leave the body-mind life alone. But Sri Aurobido is descent. No? So you can see very clearly, an ascent into a higher and wider plane of being, and its descent to transform its members. Note also that the higher you go, the wider also you become. Okay, it's a vertical climb and a horizontal expansion also of being, and its descent to transform its members. Members, body, mind, life. An enlarged and illumined consciousness is possible that shall make of him a liberated spirit. Our spirit, when it is imprisoned in the body, mind, life, it is not liberated. You don't even know it is there. Okay. We have built a prison house and we have incarcerated ourselves in that house without even realizing that we have done that. And a perfected force, and if spread beyond the individual, it might even constitute a divine humanity, or else a new supramental and therefore a superhuman race. He is giving a very clear hint of the individual yoga. If it is carried on by many, it can lead to a collectivity, a superior spiritual collectivity. That is exactly the purpose of why Mother and Selfsurrender have made Auroville. Okay, it is an absolutely unique experiment, unparalleled everywhere in the world. Not a single place this experiment is going on, and that experiment would have been possible only in India, because Mother says Auroville doesn't belong to anybody. Which country will say that I will give away part of my territory, okay, and let it not be, I don't have any jurisdiction over that? Nobody. Nobody will say that. But here we have, the government has one representative, but that representative always takes the opinion of all the others, okay. And there are 50 nations already represented in Auroville. Just imagine, half of humanity is already represented there. We think Orwell is a very slow process. It is slow in certain ways, but imagine the progress done in 50 years. Okay, 50 nations. I think more than 50 nations are there already represented. So it's a fantastic experiment. That's why he's talking about superhuman race. Okay, they are trying. It's the beginning of the attempt, but it's a unique attempt. I'm not mentioning the ashram also, but that also is a collectivity. It is this new birth that we make our aim. The new birth, a new spiritual nature. A growth into a divine consciousness is the whole meaning of our yoga. An integral conversion to divinity, not only of the soul, but of all the parts of our nature. The integral conversion to divinity, not only of the soul, but of all the parts of the nature. The other yogas, mostly, they are interested only in the soul becoming fully divinized. The soul is there in ourselves, but it is not divine. It is covered up with non-divine thick blankets. The body, mind, life are blankets covering it. It is not even conscious of itself. But that is the aim of the other yogas. Release the soul and let it go back to where it came from. The Selfsurrender yoga do that, no doubt. Release the soul, but let the soul come back and occupy the old house, body, mind, life, and change it. So that's the difference between Selfsurrender and that's why I use the word integral. And which are the other parts of our nature? It's not only body, mind, life. Huh? We have an inner mind, we have an inner vital, we have an inner physical even. All these things also must change, become pure and transparent. Right? So he has told you very clearly what is the aim of the integral yoga. A complete divinization of everything. We go to the next para. Even the next section. Our purpose in yoga is to exile. Who will read? Decide and we'll start. Okay.
Shall I read?
Yes, you can.
Our purpose in yoga is to exile the limited outward looking ego and the enthroned God in its place as the ruling inhabitant of the nature. And this means first to disinherit desire and no longer accept the enjoyment of desire as the ruling human motive. The spiritual life will draw its sustenance not from desire but from a pure and selfless spiritual delight of essential existence. And not only the vital nature in us whose stamp is desire, but the mental being too must undergo a new birth and a transfiguring change. Our divided, egoistic, limited, and ignorant thought and intelligence must disappear. Instead, the calculus and faultless play of shadowless divine illumination, which shall culminate in the end in a natural self-existent truth consciousness free from groping half-truth and stumbling error. Our confused and embarrassed ego-centered and small motive will and action must cease and make room for the total working of a swiftly powerful, lucidly automatic, divinely moved and guided force. There must be implanted and activized in all our doings a supreme impersonal, unfaltering, and unstumbling will in spontaneous and untroubled union with the will of the divine. The unsatisfying surface play of our feeble, egoistic emotions must be ousted, and there must be revealed instead a secret, deep, and vast psychic heart within the great infinite depths of the being compelled by this inner dear heart in which dwells the divine will be transmuted into calm and intense movements of a twin passion of divine love and manifold ananda. This is the definition of a divine humanity or a supramental race. This, not an exaggerated or even a sublimated energy of human intellect and action, is the type of the Superman whom we are called to evolve by our yoga.
That last sentence we can take up first. He's saying that this is my definition of the supramental race, because the word supermind was used by others also, particularly Nietzsche. Okay, Nietzsche was a German philosopher who conceived of a man, of a race which would be far superior to the normal man. But in his case, it was the same qualities in man raised to its maximum. That means a quantitative change, not a qualitative change. If you have got a little bit of power, you will get 10 times more power. That is his idea of Nietzsche's idea of Superman, but not Srinivas. He says it is not quantitative but a qualitative change. You have to become a divine being. In fact, in his case, in Nietzsche's case, he even said that you can lord it over the others. Okay. That's why there is a school of thought which says that Nietzsche's philosophy led ultimately to the Nazi philosophy of the superiority to the rest of the humans. The Aryan race, they thought, is the Germans themselves, and they have the right to be masters of the physical world. But others disagree with that, so that's another subject altogether. We won't bother about it. So let's get back to the beginning of the para. Okay. So uh, we are doing synthesis and we are understanding the principles, but also it's very interesting to see how Srinivas uses the language. Okay, so I'll point out Srinivas is very fond of images. Okay, and he uses all images. Here itself, in the very first sentence, there are two images. We'll discuss that a little bit because if you understand the importance of images in Srinivas, okay, those who are reading Savitri will appreciate that tremendously. He uses images throughout. Image, metaphors, similes, if you want. Okay. Our purpose in yoga is to exile. Okay, he's using an image. Exile the limited outward looking ego and enthrone God in its place as the ruling inhabitant of the nature. Okay, so our ego is the one that is controlling our body mind life. But that fellow has to be exiled. Get out of my kingdom. Okay, don't ever come back. You don't have the power to, you don't have the right to live in my kingdom. And my kingdom is body mind life. And get out from there. I exile you. Okay, so that is the image that Shiva is using. And when you throw out the present king, who is the ego, you have to replace him. What will you replace him with? Another person. And that person is God. Okay, and he will be ruling. He will be the king. Okay, so enthrone. The two words enthrone and ruling, okay, indicate the king. He's not using the word king, but he is using the word enthrone, God in its place as a ruling inhabitant. Inhabitant because the divine is already there. You throw the ego out and tell God to take his rightful place on the throne of your heart. Okay, so enthrone God in its place as the ruling inhabitant of the nature. See how interesting the language is? So it's an image he's using of throwing out the wrong ruler and putting the right ruler on the throne, and the throne is in your heart. Okay, so now again in the second one also he is using another image, very interesting image, and this means first to disinherit desire, okay, and no longer accept the enjoyment of desire as a ruling human motive. Okay, now inherit. So we have inherited so many defects, and the desire that is there also we have inherited from past lives. It is something that has come down to us. It's our property which has come down to us. Okay? In the physical world, we inherit properties from our parents. Who are our parents? Our past lives. They are our parents. And from there we have got the gift of desire. It is there right from the beginning. So this desire has to be, I banish you from the properties that I won't give you my properties. You disinherit your son. Okay, there are many people who do that in the physical world if they're not satisfied with their son or their daughters. So you have to disinherit his desire. Disinherit. Get him. You have no right to the old properties are not yours. This old property is my body, mind, life. You don't have a right over it. Get out. Okay. Disinherit the desire and no longer accept the enjoyment of desire as a ruling human motive. 90% of humanity, they are interested only in satisfying our desires. Okay. So that is not to be done. That's what he's saying. You have to teach yourself not to enjoy the limited desire. Okay, so but for that, very often, the wrong method is used. The wrong method is to kill the vital. It's the vital that is enjoying. If I get rid of my vital, then I will not enjoy. But that's the wrong way, because the vital also is true. It is enjoying in the wrong way, but it's also supplying energy to you. If you throw out the source of your energy, it's like throwing the battery out of the phone. The phone won't work. So you can't throw the vital out. If you throw the vital out or suppress it, it will revolt. Or it will go into a, as he uses two words. One is revolt and the other is it goes into a depression. Oh, you are not giving me what I want. I won't cooperate with you. You go into a depression. This is what happens in. So that's why the vital has not to be suppressed. It has to be transformed. It has to be slowly taught, like a disobedient child, that you have to slowly, but with love. If you say to a child, hey, don't do that, he will definitely do it. Okay? So you have to explain to him and slowly win him over with love and understanding. That's what you do with your vital. It's exactly the same thing. Slowly teach the vital not to take too much pleasure in ordinary physical things. Turn that pleasure into subtle things and finally into spiritual life. The spiritual life, I'm reading the next sentence. The spiritual life will draw its sustenance not from desire, but from a pure and selfless spiritual delight of essential existence. Essential existence is your spiritual life. Yeah. And not only the vital nature in us whose stamp is desire, but the mental being too must undergo a new birth and a transfiguring change, because the mind is mostly agreeing with the vital. We always justify our own desires and our own emotional outbursts. We never think that it is wrong. We always, 90% of the time, we say it is justified, but it is not justified. So that's what he's saying. So you have to change your mind also. Not only the vital nature in us whose stamp is desire, but the mental being too must undergo a new birth and a transfiguring change. Our divided, egoistic, limited, ignorant thought and intelligence must disappear. In its place, there must stream in, interesting words he uses, streaming in slowly, not in a flood, but it must stream in the catholic and faultless play of a shadowless divine illumination, which shall culminate in the end in a natural, self-existent truth consciousness, free from groping half-truth and stumbling error. The truth consciousness must not depend on anything, it must be self-existent. Okay? And the word Catholic he has used here, Catholic has two meanings. In the Christian context, it means Catholic means they are a sect as opposed to the Protestants. But Catholic here means wide-minded, broad-minded, liberal, wide, not narrow and not bigoted. Okay, it is very open-minded and faultless play of a shadowless divine illumination, which shall culminate in the end in a natural self-existent truth consciousness, free from groping half-truth and stumbling error. Our confused and embarrassed, okay, not embraced, embarrassed, ego-centered, small-willed, small-motived will and action must cease and make room for the total working of a swiftly powerful, lucidly automatic, divinely moved and guided, some of you have unfallen force. In the one that Shilpa read, and I also have the book Guided Force, but there is the word unfallen added afterwards. Yeah. There must be implanted. Now look at the language. Swiftly powerful. It's not a slow powerful, swiftly powerful. That must become the divine action. Lucidly automatic. Clearly, it is automatic, but it is very, very clear. Okay. Divinely moved and guided, unfallen force. A fallen force is the vital, normal, lower vital is a fallen force, but it has to be an unfallen force, which would be the higher vital. There must be implanted and activized in all our doings a supreme, impersonal, unfaltering and unstumbling will in spontaneous and untroubled unison. Okay, it's not union, it is unison. Union means oneness with something, okay? But unison is in harmony. It's in when two people are singing, okay? They have to sing in harmony. That is the meaning of the word unison. It's used in music. Okay? Unison with the will of the divine. Our will must be harmonious with that of the divine. Even if it is not union with divine, it has to be at least in unison with the divine. Okay. In music, you have this contre chant. That means two people are singing at two different pitches. Okay, but it is not unharmonious. It's in full harmony because it makes a richness in the music. So that's what they're using the word unison with the will of the divine. The unsatisfying surface play of our feeble egoistic emotions must be ousted. He is using the word ousted again. He is referring back to the first one, the exile. Okay, oust is to throw out with force. You have to oust the egoistic emotions. They have to be thrown out. They have to be exiled, and there must be revealed instead a secret, deep and vast psychic heart. A vast psychic heart within that waits behind them for its hour. When our surface consciousness is sufficiently purified, this psychic can come forward. All our feelings, impelled by this inner heart in which dwells the divine, will be transmuted into the calm and intense movements of a twin passion of divine love and manifold ananda. He is equating love and ananda. There is another thing also which can also be associated with that, Beauty. Love, Ananda and beauty always go together. 90% of the time. At least two of them are always together. Love, beauty and bliss, Ananda, happiness. So here that's why he's using the word twin passion. Okay? Divine love and manifold Ananda. This is the definition of a divine humanity or a supramental race. The whole being will become divinized. It is not the old human nature which is reaching an acme. It is not that. That is the Nietzschean philosophy. But we don't want that. The old type of Superman, many times the world has seen the stage in other places. Okay. Now we don't want that. We want a divinized Superman. Okay. There'll be no ego. In Nietzsche, there is an ego. You have the right to dominate over others, but not in this Superman.
Twin passion.
Pardon?
I didn't understand twin passion.
Oh, twin passion. Because love and Ananda. Love is one, it's a passion, and Ananda also is a passion. So they go together, that's why twin. In fact, I added a third one, beauty. They always go together. Just think about it really. You will see love, beauty and Ananda, even at our physical level, even at the physical world. Okay? Love, beauty and Ananda always go together. No? If you are in love, you have Ananda. If you see beauty, you fall in love. Okay. It's the other way around also. Someone told me something very interesting. He said that first I fell in love and then I started seeing beauty in the person. So it can be both ways. You can see beauty and fall in love, or you can also fall in love first and then see beauty. Okay. So they go together. So twin passion, very clear? Here he is speaking only of love and Ananda. If you love the divine, you will feel happy. Happiness is a very mild word. There will be a passion. There is using the word passion. But this passion is a divine passion, pure, intense, but not disturbed, not agitated. That's the difference. Okay? How much time do we have? We have nearly 15 minutes, 13 minutes. So we can read the next one. It's a very small one. We can read that. Okay. Who will read the next one?
Yeah, I'll read.
Yes, do that.
In the ordinary human existence, an outgoing action is obviously 3/4 or even more of our life. It is only the exception, the saint and the seer, the rare thinker, poet and artist who can live more within themselves. These indeed, at least in the most intimate parts of their nature, shape themselves more in inner thought and feeling than in the surface act. But it is not either of these sides separated from the other, but rather a harmony of the inner and the outer life, made one in fullness and transfigured into a play of something beyond them, which will create the form of a perfect living. A yoga of works, a union with the divine in our will and acts, and not only in knowledge and feeling, is then an indispensable and inexpressibly important element of an integral yoga. The conversion of our thought and feeling without a corresponding conversion of the spirit and body of our works would be a maimed achievement.
Maimed, crippled, wounded. So in other words, he wants even the lowest part of you to be transformed. Only the thought and the feeling, only the mind and the heart, not enough. Without a corresponding conversion of the spirit and body of our works, even our works, what all that we do in the physical world also must be divinely oriented. It must not be based on ego, but it must be based on our offering to the divine. Small para, okay, what he's saying. So basically what he's saying in this para is learn to go inwards and not outwards. All our senses, as the Upanishad says, are directed outwards. Our eyes look outwards, not inwards. Our ears are hearing sounds from outwards. Our touch also is perceiving only things which are coming from outside. Our tongue also is tasting things only which come from outside, not from inside. There's only one sense which can look into yourself, and that's the mind. The mind is the manas, but the manas is always interpreting only the senses. But you have to go to the buddhi. The buddhi is the one that can look inside. So you have to learn to go inside. In fact, we have got many interesting books which are used also even in management courses. Living within our what's his name, Dalal, A.S.
Dr.
Dalal.
Dalal.
Yeah, he has compiled many books, living within, growing within, okay. Then even other words, but all the stress is always within and not without. So that's what he said. I'll read out the sentences one by one. In fact, that's the word also where mother used the word renversement de conscience. Okay, the complete change. That which is going outwards now has to go inwards. It's a U-turn, completely opposite direction. You have to go inwards. Your thoughts and your emotions are more important and shape you than the outward events. So you have to go inwards. I'm reading each sentence. In the ordinary human existence, normal man, an outgoing action is obviously 3/4 or even more of our life. 90% of the time we are guiding ourselves with our senses. Okay? That's the most important thing. It is only the exceptions, the saint and the seer, the rare thinker, poet and artist, who can live more within themselves. Okay? Their thoughts and their feelings are more important to them than outward events. These indeed, at least in the most intimate parts of their nature, shape themselves more in inner thought and feeling than in the surface act. But it is not either of these sides separated from the other, but rather a harmony of the inner and the outer life made one in fullness and transfigured into a play of something beyond them, which will create the form of a perfect living. The transformation only of the soul becoming divine is not a perfect living, because the actions in the physical world are imperfect and they continue to be imperfect, and the other yogas don't care. Let it be imperfect, because that's something that is in the physical world. There is nothing to be done about it. The body will disappear. My soul is not going to disappear, so I concentrate only on the soul. But Srimati is saying we want a perfect living. Yeah, tell me.
Not the scientist?
The scientist he is living an outward life, no? Where is he living an inner life? He is worried only about the physical world. But some scientists are thinkers, so they start wondering about things and they realize. Even I'll tell you 2-3 cases. Okay, there was a David Bohm. Okay, he was a Nobel laureate also, and when you look at the physical world, there are many questions that come up, fundamental questions. Who has created this cosmos? What is the nature of this energy? Is there a reality which is more than what we see? So there are many scientists who become thinkers, okay, and there James Jeans was one. Then we have also even Einstein towards the end of his life. There's a very interesting video where his daughter is releasing a letter that he wrote to his daughter, and he wrote in that letter, don't say what I'm telling you, don't release it to the public, because the public is not yet ready. Okay, the most important thing in life is love. It is love that governs everything. Einstein wrote this letter to his daughter. So even the scientist who is normally interested only in the physical world can go inwards. Okay, so that is this. David Bohm also, he used to have a lot of interviews with Jiddu Krishnamurti, and they used to ask all sorts of questions. So there are scientists who become almost spiritual men here. Poets, of course, they have very subtle realities in them. Okay, but even the scientists can become, but not all. 90% of the time they are interested only in the physical world. Okay. Then he is talking here of the saint and the seer, the rare thinker, okay, the poet and artist. All these are the ones who live more within themselves. The scientist can be also a thinker, but that's a rare phenomenon, as everybody is saying. Okay. These indeed. So. But it is not either of these sides. That means everybody is saying, certainly live within, but even your outer actions also must become perfect. There should be no impurities and wrong motives in your actions also. All your actions should be divinely ordained and divinely guided. A yoga of works, that is karma yoga, a union with the divine in our will and acts. Okay. Even when we are doing the most simple act, it must be for the divine. And not only in knowledge and feeling. Note that. Knowledge and feeling, knowledge the mind and feeling the heart. That's not enough. Okay? It must be also be the body's actions. All the body's actions also must be absolutely divinely guided. Is then an indispensable and inexpressibly important element of the integral yoga. If you want integral yoga, you have to change the nature of your actions also. That's what he's saying. Okay? The conversion of our thought and feeling without a corresponding conversion of the spirit and body of our works would be a main achievement. We want Jnana Yoga, we want also Bhakti Yoga, but we also want Karma Yoga. That's what Sadhguru is saying in very short. Okay. Conversion of thought and feeling, our mind and heart is not enough. Even the actions of the body must become perfectly, divinely guided. Okay. 8:36. We've just finished. We did 3 paras today, no? Not bad. So next time we'll go to. But if this total conversion, is it easy? Sadhguru will tell you certainly not. It's not easy. But can it be done? Yes, it can be done. That's what he will tell you. Okay. So, this is 5. And we will be reading but if.